Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. Alrighty, guys. So you had a decent gap down this morning, just about 1% on QQQ, and you actually pulled off a red to green move intraday there. Now you didn't close out green, you did do it intraday. Point is, guys, they gapped it down. They had a chance to sell you down a little bit more there. They didn't. They bought you up pretty much immediately this morning. If we were to fall a little bit further, we were just going to, come down to where we were talking about in the weekly update. The ideal scenario this week is you pull back into the daily moving averages, find buyers there, and then later on the week, you take out last week's high, all right, which in this case, 619.32, and then you continue from there. As we could see, we actually swept we swept Friday's high there today by a couple cents there, and we pulled back. Now, here's the thing, guys. Either we're going to stay consolidating here above the short-term moving averages, we're going to test the short-term moving averages, or we're going to break out to the upside here. One of three things is going to be the case. And, we can test the short-term moving average here on the daily time frame and break underneath them. And then you probably do come all the way down here. Maybe we test 605 there on QQQ. But at this point, I'm just going to point out SPY. This thing's going all-time highs. The dip is very likely to be bought. You don't really have to argue with it. You got most liquid guy in the stock market over here, okay? It's your liquid leader right now. And, when you have these names setting up like this, these magnificent 7 stocks, it's just beautiful. Okay, it's beautiful, and it's not something to ignore. And we've been waiting on this move on Apple here for weeks. Okay, you've been toying with us for weeks since over here. You did not get the breakout there, didn't get the breakout over here. Just started getting the breakout last week, closed above it, got the break and retest, and just now started going today. I'm gonna say tomorrow, guys. I'm gonna say I think we get up to 290. That's my honest opinion there. And no financial advice will be given here on this channel. But, I'm pointing this out. When something sets up like this and it's the biggest name in the stock market, you probably should pay attention. It's very likely going to, it's going to be making some movement. Okay, some nice moves there. And again, the most liquid leader over here. It's the biggest name in the stock market. I know NVDA is here, but, Apple's been here for years. Okay. NVIDIA is the new guy in the streets. Apple is it's the OG over here. Been the largest guy for years and years now. And yeah, if you are an options trader, this is where it's at. That is Apple. Okay. And I'm also going to point out NVIDIA, guys. You closed out with the bullish engulfing candlestick today off of increasing volume. Maybe this thing doesn't shoot back above the daily 21 over here, 184.48 like you need to. But it's probably not going to fall off a cliff tomorrow. So, that just kind of is going along with what I'm talking about over here on SPY and QQ. I think we probably just get some consolidation. This, again, was the ideal scenario we talked about in the weekly update where you pull back to start the week. And then sometime later on the week, you do take out last week's high and then you continue. And that weekly candle expands. And so far, I'd say we're off to a good start there, okay? Let's just go over some levels here. We'll start with QQ, go over SPY, we'll go over the Magnificent 7 stocks, and then I have some stocks at the end of the video for you that I think are worth paying attention to. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. On the upside, QQQ, guys, we're talking 619.44. That's today's high, 619.44 above there. We have 624.86 above. If you start getting above 625-ish, guys, that's when you got nothing until all-time highs, 637.01, okay? Just keep it real simple right now, okay? On the downside, you have today's low. I know, real simple again, 612.52. Underneath there, you're watching the daily short-term moving average like I was just pointing out. We found buyers before then. I thought you were going to sell down a little bit further this morning. But, when you do open up and you have oversold conditions like this on the 15-minute RSI already, if you're already oversold, you got the bullish divergence going on, I thought you were going to take out and sweep pre-market low and just put in a triple bullish divergence. You didn't end up doing that. You just kind of went straight up. And, I talk about it, a decent amount here. I'll point it out when you get these big moves on the day. If you don't know how to catch these moves, guys, I'm serious. Mark out your pre-market high, pre-market low. It's a strategy there that is going to give you a move almost every single day. It's been, for most days this year, it has given you some nice moves every single day. So just Yeah, just know that that exists for you. There it is. Regardless, guys, real simple, guys. We're going to be breaking up, or you pull back, and I think we're probably just going to stay range bound. I personally think we stay range bound for the time being, or Apple's about to drag the market higher. I really don't think we're going to lose these moving averages right here, okay? But on the downside, you have 612.52, 610.39, which is right around that 21 EMA. Expect buyers right around there. If that doesn't hold, you have 606.68, okay? That's QQQ. Coming over to SPY. Now, QQQ is still in its golden pocket there. So, you know, this is where we know sellers would likely step in if they're going to step in before getting the 100% retracement, you know, up here. So in between 615.50 and 625 here, this is where when we were down here, this is when we put this on a chart. I marked it out the day of the bottom, and then this happened to be on the Friday. So we talked about this in the weekly update. This is where, you know, we could bounce into. No matter what, stocks, you know, it doesn't matter where you're trading, especially not the indices here. They don't go straight up, straight down. You get retracements along the way. You get pullbacks in either direction. You know, if you're selling over here, guess what? We'll call this a pullback. It's just, you got a little bounce, dead cat bounce. Either way, it's still in the golden pocket. So until you clear 625, you're not out the woods yet. Okay, you clear 625, at that point, SPY and QQ are both above those 0.786 Fibonacci retracement levels. And we're probably just going to drive it straight up to all-time highs. And, you know, this MAGS ETF over here, that's strictly just the Magnificent 7 stocks, it's probably going to also be at all-time highs. You know, I think the Magnificent 7 stocks are going to be participating in this rally. I was pretty vocal about it. And yeah, we're just, I'm pretty positive the next move is we head up to all-time highs. I'm not sure, though, if you do something like this. I'm not sure if you do that or if you just break out. I really don't know. But I did think this would be bought up to new highs. This is your first stop in the golden pocket. If you can get above the golden pocket, above that 0.786 Fibonacci retracement level, which is at 625 here, then we can shoot up to all-time highs, okay? But that's QQ. Coming over to SPY, you did already get above there. You're dancing around that 0.786 Fib right now. Which again, it's just where you should be expecting the opposing side to step in and talk about it. You know, it's one of my we'll call it key tools in our tool belt here on this channel. Golden pocket, you got price action, you got structure, and that's honestly really what you need. Okay, you know, obviously we use volume and RSI as well, but follow along with price action, how the structure is building out continuously, and then, you know, hey. I'm telling you, that golden pocket, your Fibonacci retracements, they're just kind of going to give you support and resistances to go off of. That's the whole purpose of them. It gives you levels to go off of whenever they make a move. Either way, on SPY here, on the upside, you're just going to watch for a break above 684.96. You get above 684.96, we're talking straight to all-time highs. Doesn't matter what QQ is doing. Doesn't matter if it's in the golden pocket there. We're talking SPY, S&P 500, straight to all-time highs. Okay, so above 684.96, we're talking 689.70, and then we're going straight to $700. I'm thinking. On the downside, you have today's low, 678.74, and then 675.56, which by tomorrow, that's going to be around the 9 EMA. And then if you don't hold there, maybe we even wick underneath that level, come down to, you know, 673-ish. Around there is going to be that daily 21 EMA. Again, we're expecting buyers around there. You know, we look at things like IWM, and it becomes pretty obvious that, yes, they're likely going to continue bouncing this market here. All right. Even if you do end up pulling back and we get straight consolidation for 2 weeks here, it's still probably going to result in another move up. And, you know, maybe it's just going to be like over there where you don't get it again. You know, something like that, shoot up, something like that. And then, you know, either way, I'm pointing out, eventually this thing wants to break up. We can very clearly see what they want to do here across the board. We got DIA. This is the Dow Jones. We have IWM, Mr. Russell 2000, and you got the NASDAQ, and you got the S&P 500. They all want to be driven up to all-time highs. It's very likely going to be the case in the short term here. All right, so just expect those dips to be bought. Buyers have already showed that they reclaimed the 21 EMA. They got rejection right here. The second you got above that level on that day, you know, that was the high of the rejection candle. Big fat slam. Okay. The second you get back above there, that's a sign of strength. Okay. You have, you know, a condition has changed on the chart. It's a change of character, I like to call it. And that's that. Anybody who went short over there, you know, they got slammed. Okay. You know, boom, you're making money. Boom. Anybody who's short is underwater. Over here, and again, you're reclaiming that short-term moving average, the 21 EMA. It makes it real simple, okay? Say it too often, 21 EMA, but again, it makes it real simple. It's that white line right there. All right, so those are the indices, guys. I did, flash over here the MAGS ETF, MAGS, okay? Bull flag, breakout coming into the week. And again, ideal scenarios, you pull back across the board and then you take out last week's highs, which over here, we'll just mark it out. Right here at 66.76. We already took it out today. At this point, I really do think they're kind of just going to consolidate you for the time being and then break you out later in the week. I personally think that's going to be the case. Or again, I think Apple's just about to drag up the market. This thing, I'm pretty sure, is going to have like a 10-point day tomorrow. And regardless, I think it keeps dragging itself up and it's going to drag the market up. And by drag itself up, I mean, sometimes stocks like to do this. They don't go vertical. They like to just kind of keep grinding higher. Okay, it's dragging itself up. It's not using its legs right now. They're not functioning. Okay, when they're doing that, they're not functioning. That's how I imagine it. You got their arms. They're just like a zombie. Okay, but they got the legs blown off there. They're just dragging themselves up. And then sometimes they just want to run, and that's that. And they have legs to do so. Sometimes the legs get shut off. That's pretty much it. All right, but as of right now, guys, break and retest. You started breaking over last week's high today, 280.38. Above there, you have 285 and then 290. And then guess what? $300 is probably going to be hit. I think 290 is likely going to be incoming, I think tomorrow or the day after. But yeah, this week. Okay, that's Apple. And like I pointed out earlier, NVIDIA, even if this thing doesn't do anything crazy, if it doesn't, reclaim the 21 EMA there, right around 184.48. Key level right there, key, support and resistance flip spot right there. Even if it doesn't get above, I still don't think they're going to slam it tomorrow. Look at how it closed out today. They're probably not going to slam it. That means the market, you have Apple and you have NVIDIA, the two largest stocks. Again, the two most liquid leaders right there. They're not all these other stocks we're talking about when I point them out on this channel. Google, similar as well. You could see what it wants to do. All right. When the thing likes to set up and, big money is behind these names, I'm telling you, they drive the setups. They don't have a lot of these false breakouts. Apple at one point was down in the ditch. Okay. It had a lot of false moves up here where it just didn't want to go. Once it started going, you could see you had fall through on every single one of these moves. Sometimes takes some time, but that's why I say the liquid leaders over here, once big money gets behind them, they're driving them. It's not like these piece of crap stocks sometimes I'll point out, okay? Regardless, all the names I'm pointing out today, they are nice stocks. They're not piece of crap stocks, okay? When the market corrects like this, you could point out to see, what's holding up the best, and you could point out, or you can pretty much, you could make some educated guesses on what are going to be the leaders along that next move. I'm telling you, Apple was it. Apple was him. But yeah, NVIDIA, not looking bad, guys. On the upside, you have 184.48. That's really just what you're going to be looking for, sellers to step in and defend over there. If you're a buyer, you want to get back above there, look for a daily close above there in the 21 EMA, and then we're talking 190, 195, $200. The downside, 178.91, and then, yeah, we're just going to mark out today's low here, 173.68. I don't think you're going to do much of anything tomorrow unless you're going to be pushing up into this spot, 184.48. All right. Meta over here, guys, is pulling back into the 21 EMA. We talked about this, okay? But now that it is back above, it's likely going to be continuing, okay? This is likely the start of the comeback story over here on Meta. We have 660 on the upside and then 690. Okay. And I do think we're probably going to get a little move up to 660 here in the short term. Regardless, daily time frame, you're back above the 21 EMA. Okay, that is something that hasn't been the case in a while, and what we're seeing right now, that is just what likes to happen here. You reclaim the key moving average. All right, daily cloud is going from red to green over here. This is what happened the last time. Okay, this is what happened the time before that. So now we have 2 times when you went red to green. All right, you have 3 times over here, red to green. You're dancing around it, and then you get the pop. So that's 3 in a row. And then you have 4 times down here. You go for red to green. And what happens? You dance around it as well. So I had pretty, again, with those educated guesses there, I made an educated guess and said, yeah, you're probably going to go slightly over the 21 and then pull back into it. And I think we could probably get the same prices over here. I sold a little bit lower here. You almost went to 650 yesterday or on Friday there. But I also think this thing might just consolidate here for the time being before that next move up into, over 660, I think is incoming here. All right. But it might take a few sessions. That's meta. GOOG, guys, it is pulling back. I'm not going to say it looks bearish. You know, I'm not going to tell anybody to buy. I'm not going to tell anybody to short it. It looks like it can go either direction from here. I'm really not sure if it just wants to shoot up. But at the same time, I think it also can just do what it's, you know, done here, done over here. Okay, the last two consolidations, they both lasted, you know, a few weeks to a month there, really. This one about a month. This one, I think 3 weeks here, just about. We could get another version of that, a little variation. Okay, so you know that's why I say don't short it, don't long it, just leave it alone. If you made money along the way, it was a massive move. Maybe it's going to keep going, but at that point, you know, it went to a $4 trillion market cap, pretty quick there. And yeah, I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. Maybe it is going to keep going up. I don't know, but you don't have to catch it. There are definitely other names after the market just corrected that have not been flying high for quite some time, going vertical for 5 to, yeah, really, honestly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've been vertical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months in a row now. You just, it looks like, you know, the thing just took off. You only really see, you know, 1 to 2 months of these kinds of candles. If you look back, you know, yeah, you only see 1 to 2 in a row there. Here you have 5 of them. It's something that Google's never seen. You don't need to be catching the ending, you know, part of the move. You don't need to catch it. Take a chill pill, buddy. Take a chill pill. Microsoft, got to reclaim that daily 21. That's going to be 497.44. You want to get a daily close above 497.44. Okay, above there, we're looking for 506 and then 513.50. I do think this thing could see 510 plus. Maybe this week, but I'm going to say next 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, support. You have today's low, 484.65, and then 478.92. Okay, that's where you broke out from. Tesla, not looking all too bad. Daily cloud is about to flip green. You're, you know, just basing out above the daily 21 over there. Doesn't look all too bad. I still think we might see 440, 450 here in the short term, and then you might sell from around there. Either way, I don't think it's going to take out this high here at 474.07. Okay. Support. You're just watching the 21 EMA here. We'll just say this, okay? You lose 420, you're coming down to 414.50. You come down to 414.50, you better hold it because that's your key level right there, okay? You lose that, you risk coming back down. You see 401.09 again, you're coming down to this low at 382. That's Tesla. All right, Amazon, guys. I'm not going to say it's the best looking chart here. I do think it's probably going to be continuing into this 238.85 to 240.252 zone this week. But at the same time, I'm not going to say this is the one people should be focused on right now. I've been very, very clear about it. Apple, okay, this is the one we should be focused on. Coming into last week, we were looking for the move up. All right, you got the move up. You actually got a breakout from the bull flag, and then you almost got the breakout. You get a false breakout the next day, Tuesday last week, and then Monday this week, you get the next breakout move. So this is very clearly the one that, yeah, the market wants to pump right now. This is the one to focus on out of the big boys, okay? Now I'm going to put some names on your radar here that we've already been talking about a few of these guys. And yeah, you know, like I was saying, when the market corrects like that, you could point out, you know, you can make these educated guesses on which ones are going to be the leaders the next time around. And the market's going to tell you which ones they're likely going to do it with. It's never, you know, a guarantee in this game. But, you know, if something is holding up with so much strength, Apple staying completely flat in this bull flag while SPY and QQ pull back to the weekly 21s over there, it's clear as day strength. Okay, and then you come over here with a name like ASML and you got the same thing going on. You've been ranging out for, you know, over 2 months now. The thing looks like it wants to fly into new all-time. It's probably going to be done this week, okay? That's 1,110 incoming. Above there, we're talking 110.50, all right? 1,150. Definitely 110.50. What the heck is that? 1,150 incoming. Okay, that's ASML. But you know, let's just look at that. This okay, base 15%, 140 points. Well, you break up from said base, the thing goes a lot higher. $1,200 incoming. That's going to be our target for this move over here. Okay. Regardless, I told you about this at cheaper prices. The thing is, hey, it's starting to fly. Okay, I know. You know, I told you about it over here in this mess. Okay, I actually started talking about it over here. You know, I know you went through that, but as we could see, it's already back up to highs. It's pushing all-time highs. This is probably going to be having another big move here. Maybe it lasts 1 to 4 weeks, I'm going to say. And yeah, I think it's just starting this week. Okay. ALAB, AL, AB, though ALAB, AHAB, ALAB. Okay. Rise, falling wedge over here into the weekly 21 EMA. Okay. You're consolidating around it, guys. You look like you're about to break out from this falling wedge here. I'm guessing that is coming over the coming sessions here. Probably going to have a fat green weekly candlestick if I had to take a guess. Regardless, this is a name that I think is probably about to be doing some cool things. And I think this can probably get back above 200. All right. Within 1 to 2 weeks here. Either way, break and retest off previous all-time highs. Very clean. I'm liking the name. And I think it's just about to go. And if you can take out today's high tomorrow, 173.20, then yeah, I think we'll probably see a move up through 180. Maybe we're straight up to 200, and by end of week we're at $200. We'll see. All right, but that's ALAB, ALAB. Reddit, RDDT. We talked about this in the weekly update. It's setting up for a move up. That move started today. This name loves to pull back every other day, so just keep in mind it loves to have big moves up. Okay, you got to move up today. I think you'll probably move up tomorrow and then pull back from there. All right, so if I had to guess on the path here, I'm going to say I think you probably push up 230, okay, and pull back the next day after that to 220 to 225, maybe 220, and then you continue from there. Either way, I think the weekly candle here might expand, and we might see 240 plus this week, okay? I think we might see some crazy moves this week. If this thing is ready to go, we're talking these kinds of moves, okay? We're talking, 10% move on the week. Yeah, that'll bring the weekly candle up to, 233, 234 there. I'm thinking more along the lines of, again, 240. I think 240, 250, that's really going to be my target for this move. Not I think that is the target for this move, but I think it might happen this week. That's what I think. All right, that's Reddit. I really like the name over here, okay? NBIZ has been basing around the weekly 21 and a previous all-time high key level for the past, 3 to 4 weeks here. It's now starting to push up from that. And I will point out for the first time in about a month here, okay, you got about a month in between these guys. You have been underneath that daily 21. This is the first daily close above it. I'm thinking this is probably going to lead to, more than just one daily close above it. I think this thing is starting to turn around here. You got a little base going on. If you could break above 102.69, I'm pretty positive this thing's next stop is going to be 110 and then 114.85. Okay, so above 102.69, we have 109 and then 114.85. And that golden pocket from this most recent move down here from all-time highs is going to be 117 to 127.70 up there. Okay, so, ultimately, right here, 120 plus incoming. NBIZ, NBIS. APLD, okay, these data centers, guys, they're starting to shape up here for us. Already caught a nice move on Cypher there. Okay, some of these other guys are starting to, they're holding up. These are some of the strongest names in the market I'm seeing today. They're all, making some moves. It's pretty mixed today, but, most names did end up seeing a move up today. They got nice big fat green daily candlesticks. But APLD over here, same look, like I just pointed out, NBIZ just a little further along. I'm pointing this one out in the weekly update, but above 26.55. Thought we were going to be starting this move up to 29.09. I thought that could be in the short term, and then shortly after, 32. That's where that 0.618 fit from the most recent move down was. So I'm still thinking that it's going to be the case, and this is probably going to see a nice comeback story back up to highs over the coming weeks. APLD. APP, guys. It's not pulling back and basing like I was thinking it was going to be doing. That's what I've been pointing out. But it did get the break and retest off previous all-time highs. And yeah, honestly, it looks like this thing wants to be a leader on this next move over here. It looks like this wants to push that upper trend line. Probably going to be tomorrow. We'll see how this thing wants to move. We will see. But yeah, now that it is starting to move, the largest, just realize this is not, if you're missing out on this, you're like, holy crap, this is not where the largest move comes from. Okay, the largest move comes when you take this out, hopefully get a pullback into moving averages or something sets up here for you, okay? And then you can take this next move, and that's when you would, hopefully catch that next drive. Right here is when it's just telling you that it wants to move, okay? Now, you could have just known about technical analysis, and I bought very little down here. Okay. And I wish I bought more, but at the same time, it is okay. I already took that off, but yeah, I'm just saying this thing is literally just setting up. Don't feel like you're missing out on all too much. It's a giant bull flag. What this is setting up for is another, few weeks of upside like this. That's the move you want to be catching. Okay. You didn't care about this freaking consolidation. Even this first initial big push up. Okay. That's not even what it's doing right now. Even this first big push up over here, over this high, it still just led to a pullback. Like I'm saying, you want to break out through this high, get a pullback, some structure builds out here, and that provides the next move for you. Okay. That's what you want. Don't worry about it right now. Okay. Don't worry about it. If you didn't scoop it up down here, I'm going to tell you, it's not worth chasing it up here. It's not. Just there's nothing to go off of on the chart. There's no reason for you to be buying it right here where it is. If it breaks above 675, however, okay, whether it pulls back from there or not, next stop is going to be 745.61, and then I imagine this bad boy's going 800 plus, 800, 900 bucks and coming. All right, but yeah, APP. It's something to watch over the coming weeks over here. We're going to see if this week we could get a weekly close above this upper trend line here. At that point, I'm just going to say it's probably going to be go time. All right, so there's going to be that. MU. I mentioned this in the weekly update there. Honestly, the theme, what I was pointing out, my ideal scenario across the board was let's move down to start the week, get a lower wick or like gap downs. In the cases we got across the board right now, get gap downs, get the pullback to start the week, and then take out last week's high, and then we see weekly candles expand. That's what we have across the board here. MU has been a leader. Okay, it really hasn't cared with the market. I know it pulled back over here, but the market was pulling back for weeks and doing a whole lot of nothing. Well, this thing just kept making new highs. This is probably going to be heading back up to new highs. You do have earnings coming around the corner. Okay, that is on the 17th. So just realize that is the case if you are choosing to trade this name, but you got a bullish engulfing candlestick today, and I have to assume this thing is going to keep dragging itself higher. Over the coming few weeks into that earnings date. Okay, I think this is probably on its way back up to highs. Now, the chip name I like and I'm waiting for a move on is break above 292.85 over here on TSM. If TSM could break above 292.85, well, I've gotten the pullback other way, get a little lower wick action right to the weekly 9 EMA, and then we take out a 2-week, equal high we got up here. It's likely going to lead to that next little pop. Okay, I'm looking for the move, 302. That's the level I'm watching above there. 300 and 302. Above there, 307.30, and then 311.37 current all-time high. And we're going to make those new all-time highs over here. But this is pretty identical to what we got going on over here. And I said the ideal scenario is we get a gap down in this name, just like you did over here, and then you take out the high. Let's see if we now take out the high, 292.85. That's the level to pay attention to. If you see that alert get hit, if you have your alert there, next stop is 300 plus over here on TSM, and we'll see if we can catch a move this week back up, near all-time highs here, maybe 305 to 310 this week, okay? TSM. Cypher, CIFR, guys, already saw a nice-ass move last week. You pulled back. Ideally, we're going to see this pullback again into the moving average. We have the same look across the board, so I know I'm repeating myself. I understand. Maybe it sounds annoying. Either way, I'm just explaining the chart, what you got going on the chart here, and they happen to all be doing the same exact thing, so I'm sorry. But yeah, you got the pullback here. Probably just going to see consolidation over the coming sessions, followed by a break above last week's high at 21.16. Above there, you have 22, and then 22.90 we're going to call. It's the 0.786 fib from the whole most recent move down. Above 22.90, you have 25.52. I do think new all-time highs incoming over here on Cypher next 1 to 2 weeks. Just not sure if it wants to consolidate this week and then go next week, or if it's just going to push this week. I'm really not sure. Okay, but that's Cypher. I like what's going on over here. Now, Cypher, we already caught a nice move on, okay, and I'm looking for a further move on Cypher. But Iron over here, this is the thing that was leading Cypher over there, okay? I'm talking about these data centers is holding up well, okay? Well, Cypher, this was the leader along this most recent move for him. And yeah, this thing is now pulled back to the weekly 21 EMA for the first time since that whole move started. I'm not going to say, I'm not telling anybody just to blindly buy into this thing, but, put your alert up here for 5406 like I have it. If you break above 5406, be on the lookout for this move back up to all-time highs. Okay, that's pretty much it. you know, if you can't break out to the upside from the space here, get back above the 21 EMA, then it's no bueno. Okay. But if you can do those things, then you now have a chart that looks pretty much the same after, you know, all the other corrections along this rally, which honestly, there's only two. There's only one. Now there's two where you lost the 21 EMA, and both, once you reclaimed it, resulted in you driving it back up the highs. Okay. Maybe it took some time. Okay. But yeah, it happened over the next 1 to 2 weeks once you got back above the daily 21 EMA. So it's a move I'm waiting for to present itself. I'm just not sure if it's going to present itself. Okay, but it's IREN, IREN. And yeah, aside from that, guys, I'm just going to point out these names. I'm not going to tell anybody to be buying these things. Just pointing out. Expect dips to be bought over here on Walmart. This is a name that finally got a breakout. Likely going to be continuing. I'm thinking 115 to 120 is coming over the next 1 to 2 weeks here on Walmart. Expect those dips to be bought. Not going to go straight up. Just realize, you know, it's what I was talking about. You know, I read it over there. They like to have a pullback every other day. You know, Walmart's another one of these guys. Okay. So just realize that's how the thing trades. It has these advances and then it pulls back. It does not just keep going vertical. Don't expect it to do so. And as of right now, it's vertical for 4 sessions in a row. And it's probably going to pull back. The spot to watch on the pullback is going to be 109.58. Okay, 109.58 is the previous all-time high that it just broke. There you go. There's Walmart, and then BABA. BABA over here, I'm telling you, everything looks very similar right now. You have, you know, 3 setups that I'm seeing across the board right now. You got wedge pops going on, okay, where you're just starting to break out from these things. All right, and then you have these bases going on, and then it's pretty much just stocks, you know, at different spots in this same exact base you got, and things are either above the 21, they're just getting above the 21, you know, they're sitting right on it, or they're underneath it and we have to wait for them to get back above it. This is just another one of those names. BABA, okay, it looks like this thing wants to push it back up to highs here. It looks like this thing is wedging out. I'm telling you, we got a lot of names looking exactly like how I just described. You know, this has pretty much both of those setups I was just talking about, okay? You got the wedge going on, and you got the same exact base going on over here. If you could break above 166.37, you have 170.55, and at that point, I think this is probably going to start running again. Either way, keep it on your radar. If you can get a pop above 170.55, that's really where I would want to see this thing get above, and then I'm pretty sure this thing is going to start pushing back up. And yeah, I think we're probably going to start seeing BABA start having these vertical moves week to week again, or, you know, a 1 to 2 month period if we could start seeing it act right here in the short term. So put it on your radar if you'd like. Rivian, RIVN. I just want to point out, you had a false breakout. You pulled back to the weekly moving averages. And now you're breaking out again. You broke out last week, and this thing looks like it wants to continue pushing. If you can get above 1813, which was the most recent high there, you have 1886, and then you have nothing until, yeah, all the way up here, 2462. So I'm just saying, this actually might start moving. I know it kind of looks, has looked hopeless for quite some time. Every single pump gets sold for, you know, the past 2 years here. Well, let's be real about it. This is definitely a change of character. This is changing, okay? And yeah, they might actually start pumping Rivian over here. I'm going to start putting it on my radar. I'm going to start keeping an eye on it. It's another name that, you know, it likes to pull back every other day. So just keep in mind this thing, you know, and when I say that, just realize these names, they like to have these gap downs. It's like a TM type of name, all right? Which, by the way, TM, don't be touching TM right now. What is this chart over here? It does not look good, but you know, it's just choppy. Sometimes you have these big advances, they don't stick. If they don't, look, you have big advance 2 days in a row, big gap down. You get back the whole day's move before the day started, and then boom, massive move intraday up. And then boom, you move up, and then boom, you do the same thing, gap down, get back that whole day's move the next session as well. That's what I mean when I say these things, you know, they drag themselves. They like to pull back every other day. Just imagine TM chart right here, okay, where it's just a steady grind the whole time. That's that. Okay, but that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And with that being said, guys, I will catch y'all in the next one. If you would like to come trade with me, that link is going to be down below. I'm live every day, and you could come trade with me. All right. But other than that, guys, I really do hope you enjoyed today's video. Please remember to leave a like on the video. It helps me out and definitely helps the channel out. And yeah, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.